Words for a City, José Saramago. There was a time when Lisbon did not have this name. They called it Olisipo when the Romans came, Olisibuna when the Moors took it, which soon became Ashbuna, perhaps because they didn't know how to pronounce the barbaric word. When the Moors were defeated in 1147, after a 3-month siege, the name didn't change in the next hour. When did Lisbon become Lisbon, in fact and by right? At least some years had to pass before the new name was born, as many as it took for the Galician conquistadores to begin to become Portuguese. But to me, they are very interesting, not only to know but to see, in the exact sense of the word, how Lisbon has changed since those days. If the cinema had existed then, if the old chroniclers were camera operators, if the 1001 changes through which Lisbon passed over the ages. Physically, we inhabit a space, but sentimentally we are inhabited by a memory of a space and of a time, a memory inside of which we live, like an island between two seas, one which we call the past, one which we call the future. We can sail on the sea of the near past thanks to the personal memory that conserves the memory of its course. But to navigate the sea of the remote past, we have to use the memories that time accumulates, the memories of an always changing space, as fleeting as our own time. What we know of places is that we coincide with them for a certain time and the space that they are. Place is there, the person appears, the person leaves, the place is still there, the place has made the person has transformed the place. My Lisbon was always that of the poor neighborhoods, and when, much later, circumstances brought me to live in other environments, the memory I preferred to keep was that of the Lisbon of my early years, the Lisbon of people who had little and felt much, still rural in their habits and their comprehension of the world. Perhaps it's impossible to speak of a city without citing some notable dates from its historical existence. Here, speaking of Lisbon, only one was mentioned, that of its becoming Portuguese. The sin of glorification wouldn't be very serious. I would learn, indeed, to give up that patriotic exaltation, that lacking real enemies, on whom to make our supposed powerful tries the facile stimuli of rhetorical evocation. Rhetorical commemorations, not being necessarily an evil, belong, however, to a sentiment of self-complacency that brings one to confuse words with actions. On that day in October, the then still hardly begun Portugal took a big step forward, and so firm was it that it didn't turn Lisbon into a lost being. But let us not permit ourselves the Napoleonic vanity of exclaiming, "From the high castle let us contemplate 80 years," and applaud ourselves after few more for having lasted so long. Let us consider first that the blood spilled on one side and the other is made of the blood that we carry in our veins, we, the heirs of the city, children of Christians and Moors, of Indians and Amarelos, of all races and creeds that call themselves good, of all creeds and races that are called evil. We leave the ironic peace of the tombs, those wandering minds that in a not distant past invented for Portugal a day of race and reasserted the magnificent mixing not only of blood but also of cultures that found Portugal and made it last until today. Lisbon has changed in recent years. It was able to agree in consciousness with its citizens the renewal of strength that pulled from the morass into which it had fallen. In the name of modernization, they raised concrete walls over the old stones. The profiles of the hills change. The panoramas are altered. The angles of vision are modified. But the spirit of Lisbon survives, and it is the spirit that makes cities eternal, intoxicated with that crazy love and that divine enthusiasm that inhabit us poets. Camões wrote one day, saying of Lisbon, "City that is easily the princess of other cities." We pardon the exaggeration. Enough that Lisbon simply be what it should be, cultured, modern, clean, organized, without losing anything of its soul. And if all of these blessings end up making her a queen, let it be so. In the Republic, we always welcome such queens.